This is Richard Harris speaking for SPAH. Today we're going to talk to an experienced harmonica player with a lot of experience from way back, including some work with Bora Minovich's Harmonica Rascals. This is Hal Harmon, and maybe Hal can tell us a little bit about his first harmonica. Hal?
Well, the first harmonica I had, my Uncle Calvin and my dad brought me as a present one night. I think it was a quarter attaboy. And them days, that was the ultimate in harmonicas.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a chromatic or anything like that?
No, that was just a straight marine band with different plates, I imagine.
Oh, I see. How about your first chromatic harmonica? What was that like?
First chromatic I got in Philadelphia, and that had the old celluloid slide on it. When they first come out, you had a celluloid shuttle, and they used to break all the time.
I don't remember any of those, and probably the SPAH members don't either, but was that the chromatic basically the same as?
Same as a 10-hole, and you had a solo tuning 10-hole and a regular tuning. I don't know if you remember anything about that.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, you got started in your early teens, didn't you, Hal, with a group?
Yeah, in Philadelphia they had Philadelphia Rapid Transit Company then, the PRT, and they had Kildee band, they had a military band, and they had a real good harmonica band. And I was fortunate being in that area where I could pick up different techniques from different players. And then they had the Philadelphia Harmonica Band. That was Albert H. Hoxie. And there was a lot going on harmonica-wise in them days in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philadelphia seemed to be a big town as far as harmonica goes, with all these big bands. In the bands, did they teach arrangements or go by music? Or?
Yeah, we went by music.
I see.
Casey Elsasser, he was one of our arrangers. Casper, he's with the Philadelphia Harmonica Reed Company now, in the executive category there. But he was one of our, well, he worked in my group, the old Harmonica Masters. There was 4 of us, Bob Heisman and Tom Wynn, Casey, and myself. And we were together for years, right up till after the war.
Oh, I see. When was that group formed?
That was part of the old Philadelphia Harmonica Band, the 4 Masters. Hoxie had a group called the Masters.
What did you play in those days?
Bass harmonica, yeah.
And what else did you have? Chord?
We had chord, but I can remember when you didn't have the chord, a fellow by the name of Jack Carr drew up the first chord harmonica. And the chords we used to play was an auto valve. You tune them down to whatever chord you wanted. You know, if you wanted a minor, you'd have to flatten a third, and et cetera. And Fuzzy Feldman was the greatest chord player I've ever had the pleasure of working with. That is for playing rhythm man. He could knock them down, boy.
That'd be dark. Well, speaking of these players like Fuzzy and I suppose Jerry Murad and a few others, when did you run across these people? Was it during your days with Bora Minovich?
Jerry.
Yeah.
No,
Jerry.
well, Fuzzy was with my group on ABC. We were called the Chester Valley Boys on the program. It was a network Western type program, originated every Saturday night out of Town Hall in Philadelphia. It was called Hayloft Hoedown. And Fuzzy played chord with me then. And Jerry was a strong boy with the Minovich Act, and I can see him now carrying that steamer trunk on his back, and I used to help him put it on. And we used to play side by side. Jerry played bass, and I played bass. Our big number in them days, we were pushing a thing called Brazil.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the old days with Minovich, who else in that band, as it was at that time, can you remember that is still, real well known today for harmonica?
Well, we just lost the greatest, was Leo Diamond. He died, last year. And you had Alan Poxon. He was a chord player. Fuzzy, Pete Peterson. Uh, Al Furbish, he has a furniture store now in Boston.
Hmm.
You know, when you stop to think, it's hard to remember some of the guys were there. I think with
How about people like
Carl Ford,
Oh yeah, Carl. How about Richard Heyman? Was he ever?
Dick Heyman. I never worked with Dick,
Yeah.
but he was with the group.
Oh, he was. At one
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Oh, I see. He's doing pretty well on his own now with
Yeah.
his orchestra.
Yeah.
But well, let's see. With Minovich, then did everybody read arrangements, or was it?
Yeah, you'd be surprised at the boys in them days that read.
Hmm.
But today, I understand you can't even. It's hard to find a sax man to read, let alone a harmonica player. You know, like forget it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's of course SPAH around this area is supposed to be for the advancement of harmonica players, and they do have music and have reading sessions at the chapters, but very few people are interested in learning to
Well,
read.
I think they should definitely learn to read because the reading, you can only, if you're not reading, you can only copy off another act that does read, so there it puts you in second place right off the bat.
Yeah.
And you learn to read music, it's just like learning to read a piece of paper. You read your bars right off, always be ahead.
Well, as long as we're talking about the technique of music and reading, you played lead for quite a while, at least when I've known you with Eddie Gordon and the Harmonica Masters. Could you tell us something about how you form the tone, or what method you use to achieve this technique? You use a tongue blocking method, as a lot of players use, or
I use my tongue a lot, but I developed a tone that Minovich definitely wanted, was what they called in them days a technic tone to come from your throat. It was a throat vibrato. And although I never had much chance to use it with Minovich because Leo and Dominic and Avi would be playing lead. You'd had your trio, or Carl. Them boys were all lead players, you see, but I was on the rhythm end of it. I did develop it through being with them.
Well, I understand that many of the players use this tongue blocking method, and they block out all but one note on the side of their mouth, whereas Toots Thielmans, he uses the center of the mouth. He goes right out of the center of his mouth. I talked to Pete Peterson a while ago, and he seems to prefer the tongue blocking method, but myself, I use the center of the mouth too. I don't.
Well, by using the center of the mouth, can you play thirds or fifths, you see? Can you split your tongue in such a manner that you can play your harmony? Like if you're playing first and thirds or first and fifths.
Yeah, well, I'll play octaves mostly, and I can stretch it to fifths and stuff like that.
Good.
Farther. But then I go out both sides. I have to switch over fast, and it's from going to here, jumping down, and catching it with both sides, and get to the octaves.
I never, what you just asked me is like the one about the fellow said you sleep with your beard under the covers or on top, and he hasn't slept yet. I never really went into this. I play unconsciously, I guess. What do you do over at Ford's?
Engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Work in body engineering.
Body.
Yeah, it's
Gonna be any changes
stress.
next year?
Not too much.
Same.
Not too much. Well, anyway, let's see. We were talking about you had a show on ABC that Hayloft Hoedown or something. Was
Yeah.
that just harmonicas only? I want to ask you
No,
about
we
that.
had the Sleepy Hollow Gang, Pete and Elmer Newman, and Shorty Long and the Santa Fe Rangers. And then in them days, we exchanged acts from Nashville, Grand Ole Opry. We'd go down there and do a show,
Mm-hmm.
and they would come up here, one of the acts, and then we would go to the Hillbilly Jamboree at WWVA in Wheeling,
Mm.
and then we'd go down to Richmond, at WRVA Richmond. We'd at Western show down there.
Well, where was that Hela Podon program?
That was originated out of Philadelphia, Town Hall, Philadelphia.
So that was kind of like Grand Ole Opry type
Yeah,
thing, eh?
yeah, it was a network show, ABC, every Saturday night.
Hmm.
Dick, I'm telling you, the fan mail we used to get then.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you were in that?
I was in that, I was about roughly 19.
I see. So you actually, you might say, you made harmonica your career then.
Yeah, just about.
Starting from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. You were did USO shows and things too, didn't you? During
Yeah,
the war.
yeah.
And,
Yeah, right after the war. I was in the Navy during the war.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after the war, well, the band was still active. We still had the show, ABC, and I rejoined the group.
Mm-hmm.
And about 2 weeks after the war was over, I was gone again with USO camp shows. Got a wire, and they wanted to know if we'd take a Pacific tour with them,
Mm-hmm.
which we accepted very gratefully.
Well, were you on this ABC show every week then?
Every Saturday night.
I see. When did you team up with Bobby Mann?
Bobby Mann, oh, that's way back at the old PRT harmonica band. Old Bob come in one day, had a boy, I don't know if you ever heard his name, Phil Thompson. Phil was a great bass man too. Phil went with the Rascals, and he's in Mount Vernon, Ohio today, I understand. He's a jeweler.
I see.
But
Well, when you had your duet with Bobby Mann, that was called the Harmonica Masters also, wasn't it? Was that before you, this Chester Valley boys?
that was
and,
during
Eli?
that time. Bobby and I did a double a lot. For instance, a lot of places couldn't use four. Well, we do a double. You see, Bobby, he was a chord player, and I'd play lead.
What type of music or routine did you have? Did you mostly play lounge work, dance, listening to music?
In these days we did club dates, just an act. You know, you go out and you do 20 minutes, and if you were lucky enough to get up to the bow part, you were all right.
Well, how about the union in those days? Did they?
Never bothered us. In them days, you
never-
belonged to the AGVA, harmonica players.
Oh, I see. I see. Was that required though in order to get in
Yeah.
to these clubs? I see.
Mhm.
Well, how does that differ from the musicians' union? I mean, can you join one or the other, or both, or what?
No, you're a musician. See, this was before a harmonica was established as a musical instrument, not a toy.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's come into its own, a harmonica.
Mm-hmm.
But Jerry, well, I'll tell you how this come about. They had a big musician strike,
Mm-hmm.
and they were playing canned music on radio. And every harmonica player or jug player or sweet potato player was working. They're not belonging to the musicians union. It was not musical instruments. They wasn't considered.
Mm-hmm.
So when they seen these boys are cutting them, then they wanted them in the union. So Jerry was the first harmonica group to be recognized in the musicians local.
I'll be there.
Yeah, they put them right in, the Harmonicats.
Well, now I guess if you're not union, they can stop you from playing.
No, they can't stop you from playing, but they can stop the band from playing that you're playing with. You see?
Oh, you mean the band that's backing you?
Yeah.
What's the name band that's backing
Well,
you?
they could stop the floor show. They can't
Oh, I
stop
see.
you.
Hmm.
In other words, if you're playing an act and you need that band to back you up, they can't stop you.
Mm-hmm.
But they just go up to the leader of the band and say, you don't play for them boys. So you're out there alone. And
So it doesn't do any good to tell a union man that you're not a musician, you're a harmonica player. Huh?
no more. Used to work. We got away with it. Now they frown on that today.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, you did some teaching now, didn't you, in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
What?
Graniff School of Music.
Graniff School of Music, and they
Yeah.
actually had openings for harmonica instructors.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, they had, they taught everything there.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to my teaching there, John Sebastian taught there.
Oh,
Johnny
that-
Puglisi.
Oh.
Okay. And then he went to New York, and then I went, and I took his place.
Oh, is that his stage name, Sebastian?
Yeah, John Sebastian.
Puglisi is his.
Johnny Puglisi.
I see. Well, whatever happened to him? I don't hear much.
I seen on TV where he was going to appear one night there, or maybe 6 months ago.
Hmm.
But he sort of faded out of the picture,
Mm-hmm.
and never heard no more from him.
He never did an act as such, though, did he? Didn't he
He
play
mostly
concert music?
concert, Larry Adler type thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He played the old Philadelphia Harmonica Band.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I got there's a photograph of him in one of these Horner catalogs, and and then on the same page there's the Philadelphia Harmonica Band.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but I don't think they were connected in there. It was just
No.
a different picture of him. But he's an attorney, isn't he? Full time, I understand. He's really an attorney.
Yeah.
He just does
Yeah.
this on the.
Yeah, he was studying law. I don't know what he's doing.
Well, you say he taught there at the Philadelphia school then.
Yeah.
I see. Well, who would take lessons? Well, I suppose in Philadelphia there's a great
Oh, I
interest
used to get
in
a lot.
that
You'd
here.
be surprised the women come down to take lessons.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what did you teach? Did you approach it like a regular musical instrument with the music?
I wouldn't
and
teach
the
them.
notes and
I
stuff?
wouldn't teach them at all, Dick, till they learned to play one note, and I wouldn't show them how to do it. It was up to them because I never met two harmonica players yet that played the same.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and I'd tell them, "You take the harmonica home, and I'm going to show you what how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play one note for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you do it, and when you play one note, you come back. I'm not charging you nothing for this lesson."
Mm-hmm. I see.
And they would be better. They'd be surprised how fast they learn. And this is the greatest thing to overcome for people learning to play harmonica, is to get that one note clear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then they would come back and they'd have it, and then I'd start from there and teach them.
I see. Huh. Well, you taught then, I guess, the chromatic or the solo instrument. more.
Well, whatever. A lot of them wanted to learn chord. I had a few wanted chord.
Oh,
A
I
few of them wanted to learn bass.
Hmm.
Then I had some wanted to learn how to play chromatic,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd write out their scales for them, and your CD, so forth. And
Well, you know, that's if you live in this area here, I bet you could teach SPAH members. I bet you get a class. I bet you they would come
Probably.
around and.
see, I was
Yes.
fortunate, Dick, in learning all the harmonicas. Where so many harmonica players, I don't know why I learned them all. Why? I guess in them days you played whatever they told you to play. You know,
Yeah.
you never knew what you were going to play. That's why I'm so shaky.
Well, how was it with Minovich? Did he?
You never
Want
knew with
everybody?
Minovich. You
Hmm?
never knew with Minovich
Oh,
whether
yeah.
you were going to play. He come out, he said, "You're playing bass tonight, kid." And that's it. You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
argue with him.
Well, you do have to really rehearse in the afternoon to come up with
Yeah.
something.
Well, I'll tell you, Fuzzy Feldman had talked to Minovich about me. Fuzzy was with Minovich. And Fuzzy said that I was a great harmonica player, etc., and he set everything up.
Mhm.
So I walk into the Old World Theater in Philadelphia. Now I practiced the B, and I practiced that I had that down like the guy that wrote it, Rimsky-Korsakov,
Oh, yeah.
note for note, you know.
Hmm.
And I went in and I knocked on the door on the first floor of the Old World Theater. And here's Minovich sitting on a chair in the middle of the floor like this, and he's got a cigarette in his mouth, and he's reading a race sheet. He said, "Come in, kid." So I come in. He said, "I said, I'm Hal Harmon, sir. And I play harmonica. The fellow Fuzzy talked to you about." "Yeah, Fuzzy said you play pretty good harmonica, kid." So he said, "What do you play?" I said, "Well, I'll play a little the Flight of the Bumblebee, all right?" "Yeah, it'd be all right, kid." So I knock it out. Perfect. So I get all done. You know what he said to me? "That was pretty good, kid. Now let me hear you play something a little technical." He was serious.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't know that. What the hell did he know about music?
Oh, is that
But he hired me. We got a nice bunch of boys here. You got Leo, his Dave Doucette, Avey, and other boys. Ernie Morris, the color boy. Remember Ernie?
No, I don't remember.
He used to get arguing on stage with Minovich and Jewish. Bring the house down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Well, of course, I never was able to see Minovich or his act, but was it just about like the Paleo and the harmonica again?
No.
It was a little different,
Paleo got it in his mind that the people paid to see him, which a lot of them did. But Minovich run that act with finesse, you know. And when he led that group, you would think it was Leopold Stokowski leading. Everything was business, you know. Johnny get out of line, man, he cut him that quick, right on stage. People thought this was all part of the show. But he run that act, and he run it for years. And there's a book called Showbiz by Abel Green. And in one page in that, you'll see in the year 1925, a young fellow by the name of Bar Minovich was making these rounds in New York. That's in this book, Showbiz. Might make a note of that if you wanted to read up on it sometime, of the old acts.
What's the name of that?
Showbiz, Abel Green. He used to write for Variety.
How was Minovich himself as a harmonica player?
Very bad, very bad. But he had it up here. He could learn one number, and he'd push that number to the so good that you think he was the greatest in the world. Like the Kim sisters, they're terrible musicians, but they get on TV, they learn one number on each instrument. See, but if you ask them to play Dark Town Strutter's Bow on that banjo, forget it. They can't, because they learned these one. They were schooled to do one thing. That's an act. Minovich was a terrible harmonica player, but when he got hit the little bit he knew, oh man, you'd swear he was the greatest. He had that in the right spots.
Well, when you were teaching that in Philadelphia, then you ran into a young chap by the name of Eddie Gordon, and whom later on you joined up and had an act again known as the Harmonica Masters. Tell me a little bit about Eddie and how old he was when he came to get lessons from you.
Eddie's mother was a waitress in Philadelphia, and his father left to get a pack of cigarettes when he was 14 and never come back until recently, a couple of years ago. And his mother worked hard, and she come down one day with this boy, and he looked at me, and he looked at the harmonicas. He didn't have a harmonica. His mother said, I'd like you to teach Eddie if you can. So when she said, I'll wait for you in the other room, so she left and waited out in the waiting room. And the first words Eddie said to me was, how in the hell do you play this thing? So I would write him out a lesson. He would take the harmonica home, and he would come back. I would lend him my harmonicas. He couldn't afford them. He would come back, and he would play that thing like he designed that harmonica.
Is that right?
And I'd get so mad I'd feel like throwing it against a wall. I've been playing all my life, and there's a kid I'm just been on it a week. He'd make a nut out of me, you know. And he did that with not only one but all the harmonicas. How are you today?
Oh, you're not using this yet?
Yeah.
So, well, he was about in his early teens, and wasn't he?
Yeah,
He came
14.
To see you.
14 years old.
I'll be darned. And then, well,
It was a natural with Ed.
how long was it? But then after that, you got with him and joined. You know, made your duet, the Harmonica Masters. How long?
I'd say he was 21 when we went together, so that'd be 14. That would be 6 years, right?
I see. Well, did you tutor him all along up until that time?
Yeah.
Or?
No. He went on with. I got him with Johnny Paleo. I introduced him to Johnny and Frank, and he went back with the Paleo group. Or he went with the Paleo group when Frank went back with him.
Oh yeah.
And he picked up a lot of knowledge there, you know. And then he went to with Paul Byrne, played with Paul. And then one day I got a call from him. I lived here then. I'd moved from Philadelphia. I lived in Bell Vernon, rather, Pennsylvania, which is in the western end of the state. And he asked me if I'd like to do a double with him. I said, yeah come on up. So from that day on, it's been around 60, I think.
Well, did he play chord with the Minovich? Or
Yeah.
No, he never played with Minovich, did he?
No, he played with
Paleo.
Johnny Paleo. And what a chord, wow. Did you hear, what's his name the other night saying?
Gordon?
No, the harmonica.
Al?
Al Fiore. Well, see what had happened is Jerry heard Eddie. We were working in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and they were working there, and they come up.
Mm-hmm.
And he got me aside. He said, "Who the hell is this kid you got with you? Man, he's like something out of this world." Ed's heard Eddie play. He plays that chord, you know, like you said, solo. Ed, he's got it. He's playing a solo on it, and he never played in his life. So
Oh, he's there.
you split them right down the middle.
Well,
But he used to take that thing to bed with him. I gave him his first chord.
yeah, that's what.
But that kid loved harmonica. And I lived in Southwest Philadelphia. He lived way up northeast. And he would come down there in the winter to my house. And he wouldn't leave there. I'd tell him, stay overnight, Ed. Sleep on the sofa.
Mm-hmm.
And man, he would leave my house. He'd have a real thin jacket on, and I mean cold out, really cold. Like it'd be warm in the afternoon, you know. It was cold, but he'd come down in a jacket from school, and he would go home maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. He could never learn enough.
I'll be there. It's a real.
Now he's writing
Oh,
arrangements
yeah.
for groups out there. He's
Where-
another Pete.
Where's he now, in Vegas?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's another Pete.
When you say writing arrangements for groups, you mean he?
He's writing
for
full
harmonica?
band or regular
oh, I see.
band arrangements, transposition, the whole thing.
I'll be there. Are those kind of people kind of scarce? Arrangers?
I'd say
Are
so. They come along once in a while, you know.
Mm-hmm.
How many Pete Petersons do you see? They ain't around.
Yeah, Pete's done real well too.
See, you can only teach. I can take credit for teaching Eddie, but you can only teach a person so much.
Mm-hmm.
You can only teach them the basic.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's up to them. You see, this is where you're people are individually different. You know, like you play different, he played different, I play different.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as copying from somebody, Eddie would never copy.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie's got to be original. Neither would I. I told him, I said, when you play like the Harmonicats, you're the Harmonicats. People listen, they hear the harmonica. When you play like Eddie Gordon, you're Eddie Gordon.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey?
Well, you know, a lot of people in this area in SPAH, they buy a lot of the Harmonicats and
Only
Johnny
natural
Paleo
that they
and so
get
on.
that sound.
and they try to copy the arrangements and everything, and it's really bad in a way. But when you come to figure out, they don't have any teacher,
That's all they have.
and they
Right.
got the record, and that's teaching them something. So
Yeah.
I guess if they can learn something that way, that's
Well,
all
Eddie
right.
come from a town, and all due respect to you people out here, but he come from a town where the world's best harmonica players came from in that era, where they had, and the reason they were is because like your SPAH now, the kids here have a place where they can go and learn, you see.
Mm-hmm.
In them days, we had a place where we could go and learn, but throughout the country, they don't today. Where do they go?
Yeah,
You see.
that's right.
So what I would advise you in this town, maybe Pete might have said something to you along these lines, is to take every guy you got here in this whole group, every one, to play harmonica and make a Albert H. Hoxie type thing of it. And then you still use your groups on your own, but I mean, as a big thing for the city of Detroit, where it would be the Detroit Harmonica Band, the Philadelphia Harmonica Band. You see what I mean? And get the city to back your uniforms. Let them, a couple of commissioners come up and hear them play. Get a couple nice classics down. We used to play all classics. But get them down and they hear all these boys playing. They buy you nice uniforms, take care of the harmonicas, the whole bit. Why should you take it on? And
That's
keeps these kids out of trouble too.
Yeah. That's what we could do if we were get into that. Of course, we have to have some readers.
Hi,
Evening.
how are you this evening?
You talk to Gene. Never got a hold of me.
Get a hold of Gene.
Hmm.
I think he's at his mother's.
Well, he might be over. Well, anyway, Hal. Now, didn't you form a trio? Short time with Dave Doucette and Eddie
Yeah,
Gordon just
well,
before-
Eddie and I got to Vegas, and we had to have 3 men on stage. So I said to Eddie, well, before we got to Vegas, we were Cedar Rapids, and we were going to go to Vegas next.
Mhm.
So I said, well, let's send and get Dave Doucette,
Mhm.
because they wanted us to hire a drummer out there. So we get out there, and I found out we had to hire a drummer anyhow, so we had the Trio Plus one. We
Right.
had Dave, and
What kind of? Did you have an act then, a routine, or did you play?
we had a little
dance?
routine. Yeah, we
Oh, I
did
see.
Chinese, an Oriental thing Eddie wrote out was beautiful.
Mhm.
Oriental arrangement. We did a lot of, what was that one, Moon Low or whatever it is?
Moon Low?
Moon Low, you
Oh,
know.
Moon.
It's Japanese or Chinese. We
Oh, I
had the
see.
gongs, and
Oh, yeah.
then we did Alabama Bound, with the whistle, like Eddie and I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we did Peak Dam Overture,
Oh, did you? That's
and
tremendous.
we
What were you playing in the bass?
Bass.
I see.
then we did um, every act, every show did a different act. We didn't do like the harmonica. It's everything. You see in Vegas, you got a fast turnover there. 45 minutes, you're on again.
Oh, I
So
see.
you change
Hmm.
your routine. We did. Well, they would always use Symphony in F minor, number 4, for an opening. But we go right out of that in the Castellano stomp. See,
Mm-hmm.
we set to really tear the people up.
Well, did you guys get a chance to record any of this stuff? Do you have any tapes?
Eddie's got some out there, so's Dave. I never brought any back.
I'd like to get a hold of that from my library, and I got a big stock of harmonica tapes,
Hmm.
that,
You got any of the old ones we made with Minovich?
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh,
got
have I?
Bugle Call Rag,
Oh, no, I don't have.
Chinatown.
I've got some. A lot of old 78s and 45s on tape that I borrowed from people, and I may
We
have.
made them on Decca, Chinatown.
I think Chinatown. I got
Yeah?
someplace. Yeah.
That was nice.
I don't own the records, but the people who do don't want to part with them, so I just borrow them and
Yeah.
tape them. But
I was playing. That was when I was in my heyday on bass.
Hmm.
You hear that Chinatown?
yeah. Well, we did.
No, I haven't been practicing as much as I should be.
Well, what are you doing now, Hal? I mean,
I'm a
you're-
sales
you're-
representative, a manufacturer's representative
Mhm.
for valves and piping fittings out of
Mhm.
Pittsburgh. I take care of heavy industry.
Mhm. Do you get a chance to play any, or you? Go,
Yeah, I belong to the Fellas Club
Oh.
in Pittsburgh. They're all ex-musicians that have gone in other fields.
Mhm.
For instance, Henry Bussey's piano player is one of our boys, and we got Glenn Miller.